Hey guys, welcome to the Redmen TV. Stay here, impromptu show time, because as we're in the middle about doing 100 different things here at Redmen HQ, Paul Joyce tweeted, and when Paul Joyce tweets, it often means that we have to then go and do a show, because when he tweets, things often happen. It was the news that Liverpool have agreed a deal to sign Calvin Ramsey from Aberdeen. It looks like it'll be an initial £4 million, with up to £2.5 million in add-ons, which, according to Paul Joyce, are linked to appearances and Ramsey's involvement in team success. The Scotland under-21 international still has to undergo his medical. That won't take place before the weekend, so we're not going to get no official confirmation until early next week, but he's about to sign a 5-year contract with Liverpool. Yeah, let's talk about that, because the obvious thing that people are talking about, I'm looking at the live chat now as well, as the report that is the last bit of business Liverpool are going to do in terms of incomings. We are going to get to that in a moment, especially the talk around midfielders. I know a lot of you guys in the live chat are already expressing concern before we went live about that news, but we'll touch upon that in a minute. Let's have a little look at Calvin Ramsey himself then, because essentially Liverpool are signing somebody to come and back up Trent Alexander-Arnold. Now, if you want to go and sign a backup, that can be very, very difficult. The two options are: you go and get yourself another Kostas Tsimikas, brilliant signing. Kostas has been over on the left-hand side. Or you go and get a young player who you are really, really excited about, who can then come and develop as well. And Liverpool have gone for the latter. They've gone for an 18-year-old. He'll actually be 19 by the time the season starts, just in and around the Charity Shield game against Manchester City. Turns 19 on July 31st. So the Reds are going that way in terms of backing up Trent. I think that's probably the best way to go, especially if they think that Calvin Ramsey is the next big thing. Liverpool have done really, really well scouting young players from across Europe, and in particular from the UK as well. Harvey Elliott springs to mind. They went and got Kate Gordon when they could get him. There's a few things that they did to try and get themselves, ahead of the market in terms of certain players. Go and get them when they're young enough to be developed. Got himself plenty of game time, got a promotion, and I'm guessing there might be a Premier League side or two who are willing to go and sign Nico Williams this summer. So yeah, the interest on Ramsey, he's played a lot of football for a young lad, to be honest with you. What is it, over 33 games last season, I think it was, for Aberdeen. He's done really well for them. So he's played a lot of football, and he's going to come in here and be a backup. Now, there's going to be lots of games. The 5 subs things helps as well. So from his point of view, there's a chance that he's going to get himself a lot of football. Whether that's in rotation for Trent, coming off the bench for Trent Alexander-Arnold. But we done a show earlier, and if you haven't checked out yet, please do so. It was on YouTube, and we did one on Redmen Plus as well about the fixture list reacting to that. And it's going to be chaos, basically. This World Cup in the middle of the season just means that there's a lot of fixture congestion before and after that tournament. September and October in particular, with all 6 Champions League group games ending by the first week of November. There's a lot of footy to play in September, October, November. Early November anyway, then the World Cup break, and then they come back straight from the World Cup, like 3 or 4 days after the World Cup final. There's a League Cup game, Boxing Day the Premier League returns, and then it's going to be pedal to the metal. It would be foolish to think that Trent is able to play all those games. Last season we had a combination really of Joe Gomez and James Milner as the backup right backs, and I was okay with it at the end, and I think both of them did well in that situation. But what happens when you're doing that is that you're effectively you're stealing from Peter to pay Paul, or vice versa. You're taking a midfielder out of the option. If you take Milner out, you're taking a centre back away. If you want to move Joe Gomez, and all of a sudden you're short in other areas. Liverpool, if Trent was rested and Gomez was playing there, then all of a sudden, Reece Williams is on the bench at a couple of different points of time. And again, I don't think that's what Liverpool want. I think they wanted a proper backup. We'll see how good Calvin Ramsey is. He's obviously very, very highly thought of. I thought it was interesting in James Pearce's tweet that, Aberdeen essentially negotiated Liverpool up a little bit. So, yeah, the Liverpool want him that much that Aberdeen were able to eke the fee up a little bit more, which again, really good negotiating from Aberdeen, fair play. But it also shows how well Liverpool are scouting, and also how much they wanted him, which again, that bodes well. I trust these scouts, and I trust Liverpool's recruitment team 120 million%. Then absolutely go and get him. Like, why wouldn't you go and do that in the first place? So I'm quite happy with that. He's been at Aberdeen since he's 8 years old. He's come right through their system. Again, 33 appearances last season. He won the Scottish Football Writers Association, the Young Player of the Year up there in Scotland as well. So we're signing a guy with pedigree, essentially, to come in, back up to Trent Alexander-Arnold, and then play here and there, and hopefully he develops into another superstar player. Who knows? We could get one. We're at a position now where we're comfortable that we've got 2 left backs, and you're happy with Costas when he plays. You love Andy Robbo when he plays. We're covered in goal, I think, for now, with the best goalie in the world and a very, very good backup. We'll cover that centre half. The striker options, as it stands, the forward options, you're going to have Salah, Jota, Nunes, Firmino. Obviously, we'll see what happens around there as well. Obviously, Carvalho, if we're classing him as a forward player as well. So there brings me on to midfield because, and again, I'm watching the YouTube comments flooding now, and a lot of you guys are disagreeing with each other. But Liverpool, according to this report, as it stands, aren't going to sign a midfielder. This is going to be the last of the incoming business. Whether that proves to be true, I don't know. But as it stands, obviously, Dave Maddox had this story, Paul Joyce had this story. So it's obviously coming from Liverpool. Whether they're telling the truth or they're giving us a little bit of porky pies, that'll all come out in the wash, we'll find out. But as it stands, if it's not the case where Liverpool are going to sign a midfielder, it very much smacks to me that they had 2 guys in mind who they wanted. We already know they wanted Tchouaméni. He's gone to Real Madrid. Jude Bellingham, who they admire, but he's going to stay at Dortmund. It feels to me like Liverpool were going to get a midfielder if they liked him, but they weren't going to sign one for the sake of signing one, really. We saw them do this with Virgil van Dijk. They waited. They didn't just go and sign any old centre-half. They waited for the one they wanted, and it feels to me like if it wasn't going to be Tchouaméni and it wasn't going to be Bellingham, then they were going to wait. Now that doesn't mean that they might keep trying to get Bellingham. If they can do a deal, then they might get him in this summer. But to me, it feels as if they've decided it's going to be one of those 2, and if it's not one of those 2, then we'd rather wait rather than just bring any player in. What that means as it stands is Liverpool's midfield options then: Fabinho, Henderson, Thiago, Jones, Elliott, Milner. We'll see what happens there. Obviously, Naby Keita's in that mix as well. Boxes are gone, but he's very much a Liverpool player at the moment. He hasn't gone anywhere. Liverpool could decide to keep him for a year, and then go for somebody else next season. I think it's very important, and it's just been mentioned in the YouTube comments, and we're going to scroll up there. ASG says, Harvey Elliott was in Liverpool's first team last season up until the point where he got injured. Maybe Liverpool really believe in Harvey Elliott being a centre midfielder with a full pre-season underneath his belt, and then he goes in there as well. But yeah, we don't know where we don't know how that's going to work out. But as it stands, like I say, Fab, Hendo, Thiago, Naby, Milner, Jones, Elliott, and Ox. Maybe if Ox goes, then they might do something else. I don't know. As it stands, we just don't. There's a lot of unknowns here. What I would say is that I think it'd be foolish as we talk on the 16th of June to definitively rule out Liverpool from doing anything in terms of ins or out. I don't think anything's off the table yet. So I think that's worth noting in mind that things could change. A midfielder who they didn't know was available could just become available. Look what happened in January. Luis Diaz was going to be a summer signing and he became available. Someone else wanted him, so Liverpool jumped in. Maybe that happens with another target. They've got maybe someone else comes in for Bellingham. Dortmund reluctantly decide to accept a bid and Liverpool go, hang on a minute, we want a bit of that party. We want to get in on that as well. I would not rule anything out yet. But as it stands, that's where we're at. It might be that we're just waiting for someone to come in for Oxlade-Chamberlain, and by signing a midfielder now, you lessen your negotiating hand in terms of a fee coming in. So maybe they're going to wait till they can move Ox on, or if they can move Ox on before they sign someone else, because, yeah, that you can't just have too many of them. It'd be interesting if they don't sign another forward, because essentially, Divok's gone, Sadio's going to go. There's talk that Taki Minamino is in talk with a couple of French sides as well. Now, what does that mean in terms of Liverpool's forward options? Well, Nunes and Carvalho come in, but you're effectively losing 3 to bring in 4. Or vice versa. Sorry, you're bringing in a couple and then you're losing those. So, yeah, I wouldn't be shocked again if something there. Maybe they think Keita Gordon deserves to go higher up the rankings. I don't know, but yeah, I thought it was fascinating that this as it stands, Liverpool aren't deciding to do any more business. Maybe a change of formations on the cards. If Liverpool are going to a 4-2-3-1 with with Nunes leading, spearheading behind a number 10 such as an Elliott or a Jones or even a Roberto Firmino, then maybe that's why they don't think they need more midfielders, because they're only going to play 2 of them. There's a lot I think they've earned that recently, especially in terms of transfer deal and the squad building. Other than, I think the big error they made was a couple of Januaries ago when it was obviously needed to go and get a centre back, and they left it so late that they ended up killing themselves a little bit. Other than that, they've been happy to wait, and that was another example where it was obviously Ibu Konate they wanted, and when they couldn't get him, they just basically went and got a lone player in Kabak and Ben Davies, who apparently exists as a person. So yeah, I wonder if that's the case here with this midfielder. My sense is they really, really want Tchouameni, or they really, really want Jude Bellingham. They couldn't get one, and they're perhaps waiting on the other. And we'll see how that pans out. But yeah, that shouldn't diminish the fact, no, this is a massive move for Calvin Ramsey, going back to that, and it's a major move in terms of Liverpool's squad building already. This lad could easily play 20, 30 games for Liverpool next season, whether that's off the bench, playing in cup games, you're an injury away to Trent, touch wood, it doesn't happen, but the fixture list is mad. It's absolutely mad, and we don't want to just run Trent into the ground. It allows us to move Joe Gomez back to centre-half, so we can rotate that centre-back as well. So yeah, I'm quite happy with this. If the kid's as good as Liverpool seemingly think he is by going this high on him and negotiating up, I think it's a very exciting one. We'll see how it all pans out. Hopefully the point that we can go and get this deal done and get him in for a full pre-season. He can be around the lads the whole summer, and he'll kick a season off the Community Shield in late July, just around his birthday, and then obviously Fulham game at the start of the season. He can be involved in that as well. I think it's really exciting, and it's always good when the Reds sign a player. And listen, Harvey Elliott, we've just seen they went and got Carvalho as well. I mentioned a few earlier. I'm quite happy with this one. Yeah, speaking of those that fixture list show, if you head on over to redmenplus.com, our reaction show to the fixture list being announced is streaming on there right now. Right now, it's there for you, both in podcast and video format. It was me, Chris and Ross, dissecting the season month by month. The highs, what looks like a good month, what looks like a potentially tricky one. That's all there for you. We've also gone big, obviously. This isn't the only sign Liverpool have made, Calvin Ramsey. They obviously went and signed Darwin Núñez recently. There's a Redmen reacts to that. There is an expert insight with Andrew Beasley looking at the underlying numbers behind the signing, why Liverpool have done it, what Andrew thinks will happen if Sadio leaves with Núñez coming in. Honestly, Andrew speaks so well. His knowledge of that kind of stuff is unbelievable. And the stat show with Chris Payne, basically, Chris just goes right down to all the stats, the graphs, the figures, everything, looking at how Darwin Núñez will fit in at Liverpool, how he fits in the system, what systems they could play, who plays around him, which players he's excited for him to link up with. Spoiler alert, one of them is Trent. And so we have that streaming there for you now as well. And like I say, if you want even more about Calvin Ramsey, to learn more about Calvin Ramsey, very, very shortly, in about 15 minutes or so's time, at time recording this, I'm going to be speaking to Ali Beg, former TV, well, he's a TV presenter, author, YouTuber as well now. He covers Aberdeen over on AB TV. Ali knows this player. He's involved with agencies and commercial, all that kind of stuff as well as Ali. He knows all about the best young players in Scotland. And of course, Calvin Ramsey, because he watched him every single week for Aberdeen. So if you want more insight on Calvin Ramsey, head on over to redmenplus.com. Sign up if you haven't already. And yeah, listen to me speaking to Ali and get the full lowdown on this new youngster that the Reds are going to sign. So yeah, it's been a bit, we were signings, like London buses and two come at once. Like, hold your horses, this isn't going to be announced till next week. We know that. Don't lose your heads just yet on the midfield stuff. There's a plenty that can pan out. And if they don't sign anyone, then I think that I would like them to. I think they should. But if they're going to stick with what they've got, it could be worse. I think there's enough there for us. Again, it shows the faith that Jurgen's got in the likes of Jones and Elliott. I think personally, if they sell Oxlade-Chamberlain, then they might still sneak back into the market. But we're not there yet, so we'll soon find out. But yeah, thanks for joining us, like all you guys who've been in the live comments. Really appreciate you joining us for the show. I'm about to go and speak to Ali now, all about Calvin Ramsey. I hope you can come and join me there over on Redmen Plus. You won't regret it. I'll catch you in a bit, guys. See you in a bit.